Yo brodies, what's up? Today's mechanical keyboard review is a complete contrast to my previous review, which was the Melgic Mojo 68 wireless mechanical keyboard made mostly out of plastic, but offers some quite unique and interesting characteristics. You can watch that video here. And what we have here today, unlike the Mojo 68 plastic, is made out of aluminum. I am talking about the Everglide SK68. Yes, the brand that is mostly known for its switches and stabilizers now offers mechanical keyboards as well. This is actually my new daily driver for a bunch of reasons that I'll mention throughout this video. The Everglide SK68 features a nice and clean aluminum chassis with RGB lining around it, offers a gasket mount, hot swappable sockets, Everglide V2 stabilizers, and most importantly, wireless connectivity, which is kinda rare for a keyboard with an aluminum chassis. This is a beginner-friendly DIY barebones kit that leaves users some sort of flexibility when it comes to customization. I actually did a few, like tape mod and PA foam mod, aside from the usual lubing of switches and stabilizers, which I'll share with you as well on this video. With that being said, let's get into it. So let's start with a quick unboxing experience. The packaging is actually quite nice, with a solid and clean looking box with a gold Everglide logo at the center. Inside the box we have a wire keycap puller, a switch puller, the Everglide SK68 itself, and the USB Type-C cable. Unfortunately, we don't have a user manual, but don't worry as I'll find a way to show it to you later. This is a $219 DIY barebones kit, which is still right around the entry-level category, but definitely not a budget one. We also have a gold sticker logo right here, which I guess we can put at the bottom of the keyboard. At first look and touch, the Everglide SK68 feels like any modern entry-level, beginner-friendly DIY barebones kit with an almost built keyboard just without the switches and keycaps. So in a way, it's almost good out of the box, while allowing users to have some sort of flexibility and exploration when it comes to switches and keycaps. Flipping it on the front side, as you can tell, we have a translucent lining here, which actually goes all around the keyboard. Looking at the side, the chassis is also angled for a more ergonomic typing experience, and here at the back side, we have a thicker lining with a USB Type-C port at the center. Turning it all over at the bottom, we have 4 substantially sized rubber feet and an Everglide logo at the center. Now, Everglide also sent their Everglide bamboo leaf switches, so we're gonna use that for this build as well. And for the keycap, since I want to match this keyboard with my minimal desk setup, I'm going to use the clean-looking Aqua Silent PVD keycaps, which is actually my all-time favorite budget keycap set. Alright, so let's tear it apart so that you can have a better understanding of how it is constructed and see what modifications we can possibly do to make this keyboard sound and feel even better. One thing that I really like about this keyboard is how easy it is to tear apart. All you have to do is remove all the screws around the bottom case and lift the top case gently like so. By the way, this is also a gasket mount keyboard, but instead of having the gaskets on the bottom case, they are actually located on the middle translucent plastic diffuser. In terms of the battery, this is also another plus. We have a massive 6000 mAh of battery. Like I said, the gaskets are located here on the middle plastic diffuser, and we have a total of 10 gaskets. Now, one major criticism of this $200 keyboard is the fact that it uses north-facing hot swap sockets, which are known to cause interference between traditional short pole switches and cherry profile keycaps, which in my opinion is a fair criticism given the price of this keyboard. However, I also honestly feel like it is not a total deal breaker, especially in today's modern era with a bunch of available long pole switches, which eliminates that problem. Here, let me show you an example so that you can have a better understanding of what I am talking about. From the left, we have the OG Cherry MX Brown, Zaku, Everglide Bamboo Leaf, Gazuboba U40, and the Glorious Panda switch. As you can tell, all of these switches feature long pole stems aside from the old traditional Cherry MX Brown. Now, when you install a cherry profile keycap on a north-facing short pole switch, the keycap will get in contact with the housing of the switch, causing unwanted interference. We can confirm that by putting a piece of paper in between the keycap and the switch, as you can see here. You won't be able to pull the paper back. Now, long pole switches completely eliminate that by adding enough clearance between the keycap and the housing, as you can see here. You can also confirm that by using this method. As you can see, the difference is quite subtle, but enough to provide that much needed space. And as I've pointed out earlier, there are a bunch of good long pole switches available for you to choose from. And besides, this issue with north-facing sockets only exists with cherry profile keycap, but again, a fair criticism nonetheless. Now, going back, this keyboard features the Everglide V2 stabilizers with a little bit of pre-lube. And in terms of the hot swap sockets, it is made by Kale. We also have matching gaskets on the top cover that, when partnered with the bottom gaskets, eliminate the direct chassis to plate contact for a more dampened typing experience. As for the plate, you can choose between carbon fiber or what we have here, polycarbonate plate. We also have a poron foam dampener in between the PCB and plate. Like I said, the Everglide V2 stabilizers are already pre-lubed and should be decent enough as it is, but I'm still going to modify this later, so watch the entire video if you're interested to hear the sound comparisons. Putting it back all together is as simple as just reversing the teardown process. Now, even though it features gaskets around the keyboard, the overall typing experience I'd say is still pretty stiff because of how it is implemented, as you can see here, especially partnered with the standoffs around the plate, making flexing almost non-existent when the keyboard is fully assembled. As for the Everglide bamboo leaf switches, it is a tactile switch with a long pole palm stem and nylon housing and has 62 grams of actuation force. And although it wasn't mentioned on the specs, it seems like it has some faint lube around the stem. And since it is a long pole switch, we can use it for this build without any problem with the Aqua Silent Cherry Profile PVD keycaps. And there you have it guys, let me know in the comments below what you think about the end result of our build. I honestly feel like it looks exactly what I want it to be. The Aqua Silent PVD keycaps perfectly match the space gray aluminum colorway of the Everglide SK68. And while the switches and keycaps mostly block the SMD LEDs, at least we still have some RGB lighting around the keyboard. This actually reminds me of the high-profile version of the drop-out mechanical keyboard. One interesting design language of this keyboard, however, is the optional gold sticker that you can put at the bottom logo. This gives it a more premium look from afar, but at the same time, gives you that budget feels as well because of the fact that it is only a sticker. So yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag feeling right there. Overall, as you can see, the Everglide SK68 perfectly matches my Logitech MX Anywhere 3 mouse. Awesome! Now let's quickly tackle its features and functionalities before we move on to the software and the further modifications I've done with this keyboard and some sound test comparisons. Although the manual didn't come with the packaging, I was able to download it from EpoMaker's website. I'm not going to mention everything here because obviously you can just take a screenshot and check out all the different functions, but what's important here is that you can connect this keyboard wirelessly up to 3 devices and you can also connect it via wired mode. You also have at least 4 layers, 2 are customizable and 1 is for Mac OS. Of course, you also have multimedia shortcuts and toggle for the lighting effects. One thing worth noting about this keyboard, if you haven't noticed already, is that it doesn't have a power switch, which to be honest is kinda annoying, but you'll get used to it eventually. It does have a power saving feature though, that automatically puts the keyboard to sleep and you can wake it up by just tapping the spacebar twice. As for the software, it is also available to download from EpoMaker's website. Inside the software, under the Programming Studio option, you can change the response time speed, which personally I just set to 4. And like I said, we have 4 different layers, 2 of which are customizable, and you can also change the shortcuts for these layers. Now each key can be customized and changed to a different function, like mouse functions and other keyboard functions. You can also record macro here or set the key to a multimedia function. Pretty much anything you would expect from a keyboard software, you have it here. I'm not going to dive deep into the lighting effects customization, but you also have the option to customize the lighting effects of both the per key LEDs and the side illumination LEDs, including an audio visualizer lighting effect. The customization for the RGB lighting is actually quite extensive here using this software. And lastly, you can also toggle the wireless sleep option here and update the firmware if necessary. Overall, the software is quite useful, especially if you want to take advantage of the 2 customizable layers. As for the performance, I didn't encounter any issues with wireless stability, and it also features proper NKRO, which means you can press as many keys as you want without conflict even in wireless mode. Now in terms of the modifications that I did for the Everglide SK68, the first thing I did was add a little bit of EVA foam on the bottom case. Honestly, I don't think this is even necessary since this keyboard is already pretty compact, especially with the large middle plastic diffuser, but I added it nonetheless just to make sure. The second modification that I did is I cleaned and relubed the stabilizers and did my trusted micropore wrap around the wire mod. Essentially, I wrap a thin layer of micropore around the wire and then lube it with Zion Studios PH Switch Lube, which is the equivalent of the Crytox 205 Grade 0. I also replaced the Everglide bamboo leaf with lube Zaco switches because 1, it perfectly matches the colorway I'm going after, and 2, I really like the sound and feel of the Zaco switches, albeit quite clacky for my preference. I also added the popular tape mod at the back of the PCB and did the PE foam mod in between the PCB and plate. This should make the overall sound signature of this keyboard poppier and make the rather clacky sound of the Zaco switches a bit deeper than usual. Finally, here are some sound test comparisons for you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the sound of this keyboard, especially the final form of it with mods and lubed Saco switches. So to conclude, while the Everglide SK68 has a few shortcomings like the north-facing sockets, the lack of a power switch, and to some extent, the rather stiff gasket mount design, I still honestly feel that this is one of the better options when it comes to entry-level and beginner-friendly DIY kits out in the market. First, unlike its competitors at the same price range, the Everglide SK68 is easily available through Everglide's website, no long group buys whatsoever. Second, it also offers wireless connectivity with 6000 mAh of battery, which as I pointed out earlier, is kinda rare for a keyboard with aluminum chassis. It also features the popular Everglide V2 stabilizers and an option for a carbon plate. Overall, like I said in my intro, this is now my current daily driver. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Huge thanks to Everglide for sending this in. You can get this on their official website, link below. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you like this, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.